Now, a report about a quarter of elephant ivory sold in the cities of Beijing and China is illegal. A report released in Nairobi dubbed "China Faces a Conversation Challenge" shows the skyrocketing demand for ivory in China. The report released by the Save Elephants reveals that the wholesale price of raw elephant tusks has tripled in just 4 years, driving the unsustainable killing of elephants in Africa.
The interesting thing is if you look at the prices, if we look at, for instance, retail prices for wholesale prices for ivory in Africa today, if we look at Luanda, where we recently worked, the wholesale price is about $200 a kilo, and it's 2,100 in China. So it's 10 times as much. Now, of course, there are expenses there, and one of the expenses which conservation organizations have avoided looking at are the bribes. There's a huge train of officials that you have to bribe to get that ivory off the African continent into Asia and then into China. And if you look at retail prices as well, there's a huge increase from what you can buy in tropical Africa and what you can sell it for within China.
Elsewhere, victims of the 2007-2008 post-election violence have no reason to worry, even as the Kenyan cases at the ICC appear to be stumbling. Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Amina Mohamed, says the government will make sure that all victims are adequately compensated as justice is being sought. Speaking as she appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Relations, the CS also clarified that her ministry and other foreign institutions are instigating proper healing programs for the victims.
We've had discussions at various levels to make sure that compensation is available to all the victims of the post-election violence, so that we can actually begin to properly heal from the crisis that the country faced in 2007-2008. So I just wanted again to say thank you very much. Some of you came to remind us about the victims. Others came to urge us to make sure that our country was not treated as a country that was full of criminals. And
the annual Kenya National Union of Teachers Delegates Conference is set to come to a close today. Delegates are expected to come up with the next course of action following failure by the government to settle an outstanding pay dispute. The conference follows a meeting with the National Executive Council, where NAT Chairman Wilson Sosion said a resolution was reached that if the talks failed, this conference would determine the fate of a motion for industrial action. Our reporter Lofty Matambo is at the conference and joins us now on phone from Kasarani. Lofty, if you can hear me, could you please just describe the mood at Kasarani and what has been happening?
Yes, good afternoon, Ian. Thank you very much. Indeed, I can hear you very well. Indeed, we are at Kasarani, the Safaricom Indoor Arena. And the teachers, we are speaking about over 1,600 teachers who are representing over 110 branches, not branches. They are here basically to vote for the motion, either to have them go strike come January next year or not. Before that, they conducted some election for the National Assistant Treasurer for the seat that fell vacant after the retirement of Richard Kibagen. Remember, Ian, this seat is basically reserved for Nyanza region according to the structure of leadership and management. So they took the better part of the morning hours, like 3 hours voting, and they are just done. They've gotten into the arena. And Sosion, the Secretary General, is addressing them. So anytime from now, we'll be expecting the voting. The mood is okay, it's calm, but just talk to a few of the teachers. It's like they're just waiting to vote, but they have all decided to get into the strike, or rather they are for the strike. But that one can be confirmed immediately after the voting is done. Ian?
Lofty, this is the first time in history that NAT is voting for an industrial action. Maybe if you've interacted with some of the delegates there, what are they saying? Do you think the vote will pass?
Okay, according to a few sentiments from a number of them that I've talked to, remember they're fighting for a number of issues. One of them is the salary increment. It is worth noting that the lowest earning teacher is carrying home between 15 to 18,000, and the last time they signed the collective bargaining agreement was 17 years ago. So they want to have that one again reviewed, so that they can also have the structure of the scheme of service in place for them to be getting promotion at least to job group P, so that they can be well paid. So according to the mood and what a number of them are saying, it's like the motion will pass, because they're saying they're really tired. And I just talked to one of them who's saying they could not have the striker before the exams for the Form 4s and the Class 8 pupils, because they wanted the backup from the parents. So they believe this is the right time for them to go on strike, because they'll have full backup from the parents come January.
Maybe, Lofty, if you can just backtrack, do we know perhaps if you've talked to some of them why earlier on the meeting that Sosion had with the National Council failed?
Okay, what they're saying is that they were buying time because they have been promised. Remember, this is the 26th, actually they have had 26 sessions of negotiation. So the answer from them, as far as that one is concerned, is that they've been patient with the government, with the Ministry of Education, but because nothing good has come forth, they're saying this is the time they have to strike, because it's only the industrial action that could save them.
Thank you very much. That is Lofty Matambo joining us on phone from Kasarani, where the National Union of Teachers is expected to vote for an industrial action. We shall have more on that story in our subsequent bulletins. Now, elsewhere, Health Cabinet Secretary James Macharia is optimistic that the renewed partnership with the Global Fund will lead to decreased rates of HIV infections in Kenya. He spoke during the launch of the partnership with the Global Fund to fight against HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis.
Since independence, Kenya has been very much private sector driven. We've driven a very capitalistic system. So the private sector understands the commercial aspects of the health sector. And so we thought, as we address these other challenges we have, it is critical that we address these three particular diseases. And you have to have partners, because the challenges are quite very, very, having a very big impact.
Global Fund has invested over $900 million in Kenya, but there's still significant gaps, and we need the private sector to contribute.
And because of the strong performance of Kenya, we are now in a position where we're discussing, one, sustainability of the gains, and two, how can we move towards elimination and eradication in some key areas.
Good afternoon and welcome to our Business Chat segment. My name is Abi Agina, and today we'll be discussing more about the 4G network. With us in studio is Thibaut from Safaricom, the Chief Technical Officer in Safaricom. But before that, let's take a look at what's been making headlines in the business front. Integrated financial services provider Centum is seeking a controlling stake in Almasi Beverages Limited. Centum plans to spend an estimated 100 million shillings in acquisition of an additional 3% shareholding in Almasi and increase its stake to 50.95%. Almasi is a holding company of 3 Coca-Cola bottling companies, including Mount Kenya, Rift Valley and Kisii Bottlers. The firm has the second largest share of the Coca-Cola bottling business in the country. Centum said the intended acquisition is in line with its strategic objective of expanding its presence in the fast-moving consumer goods sector. In a note to investors, Old Mutual Research said the investment will be vital in helping Centum deliver on its strategic theme of generating 35% annualized return between next year and 2019. Moving on, business at the Kenya Meat Commission came to a halt for the better part of yesterday when over 200 workers laid down their tools to protest months of unpaid wages. The workers claim management owes them over 124 million shillings in unpaid arrears, dating as far back as 3 years ago. This and more in our business briefs by Joy Dorin Bira.
We will have no Kenyans are being forewarned that buying some of the counterfeit, low-quality electricity cables currently being sold in the country could lead to major factory and home accidents. The country has witnessed an increase in counterfeits sourced mainly from the East, whose quality the Kenya Bureau of Standards says is wanting.
Mix copper with other metal things. You know, they have so many gadgets in China. So you'll find that the quality is not good because they are looking for money.
The Information and Technology Ministry has partnered with global technology giant Huawei Technologies Kenya to launch an internship program dubbed Huawei Seeds for the Future that will see students from chosen universities sent to its China headquarters to learn technological skills and return to implement skills acquired back home. Activity at Kenya Med Commission came to a standstill after more than 200 workers downed their tools to protest months of unpaid wages. The workers claim management owes them over 124 million shillings in unpaid arrears, some of which date back to 3 years ago. The workers have vowed not to report to work until they're paid. This strike comes 2 months after Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Felix Koskei announced that the giant meat processor had received 700 million shillings to revamp it and pay off workers as well as suppliers' dates.
Pesa imetolewa na serikali, tukaambiwa milioni 700 imetolewa. Kwa KMC ilipe ndini sote, sile tushaandai.
Joy Doreen Bira, KTN Business.
Many thanks, Joy, there. And now let's get into our interview for the day. We are talking to Mr. Thibault. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Safaricom recently launched the 4G network. A lot of Kenyans want to know, what does this network mean for them, and help them understand.
Yes, thank you, Abby. So the 4G network, or the LTE, long-term evolution as we call it, is the latest generation of mobile technology, and especially for data services. What it brings is much faster download. In our launch last week on Thursday, we were able to demonstrate 100 megabits per second of download, which is more than double as compared to the current speed we're having on the 3G network.
So what does this mean ideally for that young person who wants to make use of it? Maybe they're running their own shop, they're running their own startup. What are they likely to benefit from?
So the main benefit, as I said, comes from faster network. So basically, if you're running a business, if you are a doctor using telemedicine, for example, if you want to have broadband at home, what you want to have is actually the quality and the speed in getting the content delivered to you. That's what we call the download. And thanks to the LTE network on the 4G, we actually double that speed, so it's much faster. Also, thanks to the, I would say, the simplified architecture of this next generation network, we also have faster connectivity and lower latency to the network, which is also relevant, for example, for gaming applications or for telemedicine, where you want to have absolute immediate interaction within the network.
And what do companies stand to benefit from this?
So basically, it's a key enabler. If you are a small and medium enterprise, for example, your business may rely heavily on access to internet. Okay, so you might want to host some of your applications, for example, in the cloud, which means you need reliable and fast access to internet. So this is the key benefit. This, I would say, this technology, the latest technology available on the market, is coming at a point where actually Safaricom, as you know, our, let's say, strategy is to deliver the best network in Kenya. This technology has now come to a place where we can actually deliver it, and thanks to the recent spectrum acquisition that we've made, we're now able to offer it to the public.
And are there plans to share it out with the other telecom operators as required by the Communications Authority?
Yes, the Communications Authority of Kenya actually requires that we share that capacity. So we will enter into discussion actually with the Communication Authority around the technicality of how to deliver that, how to implement this sharing with other players in the market.
Speaking about the technical aspects of it, technically, is it possible for you to work with your rivals on the same network?
It is indeed technically possible. The radio technology and the core technology enable that. We are actually able to do that. What we need is to agree, let's say, on the conditions to make that available. But technically, yes, indeed, it is possible.
And Safaricom did invest quite a pretty penny to this project, totaling to about 14 billion shillings. And what is the payback period and how significant will it be for Safaricom?
Okay, so this investment is part of, let's say, our investment plan as we have communicated to the market and in our latest announcement of the results. So there is no change in the guidance. It was actually part already integrated in our plans. It is a very significant investment indeed. You've mentioned the figure of 14 billion for the spectrum. I would like also to mention that in order to be able to implement a 4G network, we need to heavily invest into fiber to our sites. So currently we have fiber to, let's say we have invested already 1,500 kilometers of fiber. This is also very relevant in terms of investment, but this is what is necessary in order to accompany the growth for demand for data.
And finally, what does this mean for the quality of service? Because reports from the authority have shown that Safaricom has, over the years, not maintained the quality of service, as you also wind up.
So basically, all our investment, yes, aim at improving the quality of service. This investment and this launch of the 4G network actually goes into the data space, where we already have the fastest network with our 3G. We are now doubling that capacity in order to deliver the best data network for true mobile broadband in Kenya.
Thank you very much, Thibault.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've been speaking to Safaricom CEO Thibault, who was sharing with us issues around the 4G network and what it ideally means for you at home. Basically, you need to know faster internet speeds and also network stability. Well, that brings us to the end of our Business Chat segment. My name is Abi Agina.
And that story marks the end of our bulletin today. Do keep tuning to KTN and following programs happening. We'd like to also hear what's happening around you. Our Twitter handle is at KTN Kenya, as well as Facebook, that is at KTN Kenya. My name is Ian Wafula. Do have yourself a lovely afternoon.